Hello, everyone. On episode 2 of the FLG Golf Podcast, we went on multiple journeys with Chris Farley about his life, injury history, and careers in fitness and golf. I described Chris as a wayfarer, and that's someone who is seemingly constantly on a journey of some kind. Not just physical, which is true for Chris because he's adventured throughout the Middle East, Asia, and Europe, but also metaphorical, intellectual, spiritual. When I lived with Chris in Singapore, he was an athlete, but he was not a golfer. He didn't own clubs, and he came with us on our trips because we would drink quite heavily, and he is excellent at that. COVID sadly derailed Chris's life in Asia and his career, but the essence of a wayfarer is that of moving forward, discovering and embracing the unknown, and that is Chris to a T. So out of seemingly nowhere, Chris is now a single-digit handicap and the club fitting instructor for the south of England for Europe's largest golf retailer in the UK. So check out the full version of episode 2 for every detail. There's a lot more to laugh at, learn from, and be inspired by in that full episode. And for slightly better audio quality, listen to the podcast version, wherever you get those, or just bear with the YouTube versions until episode 5 when we finally get better microphones. And lastly, thank you to thebeerpioneer.com, Singapore's largest and best craft beer subscription service, for your support. And without further ado, Chris Farley.
He's the man I think of when I think of just a hot, steamy number 2. His name is Chris Farley. Chris, hello and welcome.
Hey, Mark. Hey, guys. How you doing? Happy to be here.
So I am wearing a very special lid today. It's obviously an Oregon State University Beavers hat, but the moment I saw this in an OSU store on a West Coast road trip once, I had to buy it because at the time, Chris and me and a number of other fine gentlemen and ladies were all living in a place in Singapore, a 2-story square, painted lavender, almost like a frat house, but not really. A place for young professionals in Singapore.
Yes.
Called the Beaver Loft. And
the purple house on the corner. Yes.
Beavers. That is who we are. That is who we will always be. And the best friends that I have ever had and ever will have potentially have all come from this like housing unit where we each spent a year and a half or maybe even a little bit longer, or a little less of our lives. Chris, at the time you were managing a Virgin Active gym in Singapore. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, well, I started off initially. I was managing. I was general manager for Fitness First Asia, and so I had a fantastic 10 years in Singapore, managing health clubs, and then I moved over to Virgin Active eventually. And when I came back to UK, obviously anything related to health and fitness or people expiring or sweating or breathing on each other was just completely shut down. And, you know, I think the fitness industry in general globally, but also in the UK, just got absolutely ravaged by COVID. So, you know, financially, just emotionally and morally, the businesses were really struggling.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I came out of Singapore and came to UK, it was a very different environment, a very different landscape. And I think a lot of the businesses reflected that. So it didn't quite work out. I kind of lost my mojo and my passion, I guess, for fitness. And given
passion for fitness, but passion for the commercial aspect of fitness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
you haven't let yourself go physically.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm still fairly nimble. But no, then I kind of took a role just as a stopgap initially. That role evolved very quickly, and I was placed, you know, given the opportunity to do some custom fitting, which is the service that we offer there. And turns out my biomechanics, coaching, and anatomy, physiology, and also my sales and service background was really, really fucking good, you know, for custom fitting. And I became the regional custom fit trainer for the south of England. So I'm a very adventurous person, and sometimes on adventures you get injured, and I actually have a tattoo that keeps me safe and it reminds me to be safe every single day.
Now the tattoo I definitely know about. It is a Mr. Bump holding
It
a
is.
glass of whiskey. Is it somewhere on your body that you can flash on the camera?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so it's on my right arm, which is what I
let's
use
see
to
it.
brush my teeth. And
Yeah.
every day I brush my teeth. It's just a reminder. Don't know if you can see that there because of the light. It's a reminder just to stay safe.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say I'm accident prone, but injuries and accidents tend to be attracted towards me. But that's
All
just
right.
because I have a
Top
yes
3 injuries,
mentality.
putting you on the spot.
I think top 3, I'd say probably the most gnarliest was jumping into a swimming pool head first and almost breaking my neck because I got the depth of the swimming pool wrong. So that was a pretty gnarly one, and that left me with a little bit of regret after that one. I would say the other injury would be a broken ankle, which needed reconstruction. So it was a 4-in-1 injury, and that was because I used to do a lot of long distance running, kind of like ultra marathons or adventure racing, and do a lot of fitness. I used to be an absolute fitness madman, and so my left ankle had to be completely reconstructed, and that was a pretty gnarly accident. And I'd say the third one would be the third one. There's so many. I almost lost my left arm as a kid in a car accident. So that was that was a pretty gnarly one as well. So there's many more. I think if I just went through the bones I've broken, I think my nose is still broken. I've broken my jaw 7 times. I've got 3 nails in this finger. I've broken my left wrist, my right elbow, about 8 ribs. Obviously my left ankle, and almost my neck. And I think that's about it.
Can you attribute most of these injuries to a specific leisure activity, aside from just sort of being drunk and foolish?
I was going to say drinking alcohol. I would say, but it's just from being adventurous, and I've always, I think you'll know this from me, Mark. I always take a yes mentality. Like, hey, Chris, do you wanna go? You wanna go climb a mountain? Yeah. You wanna go climb a mountain in Afghanistan? Yeah, I do. Yeah. I've always been a keen sportsman, and you give me any ball to hit, run, chase, or throw, and I'm there. So when I was younger, my dad had an old set of golf clubs, but he was left-handed. So the only golf clubs that me and my brother Andy could ever get our hands on was maybe one old, pitching wedge and some old driver or 3-wood. And then I didn't really play golf seriously until I met yourself in Singapore, and I followed the FLG, the golf boys, and we had some very fun golf trips in Asia, whether it was in Singapore or Malaysia or Indonesia. It was very boozy.
Now bring us back to post-COVID. Now you're in the UK, your entry point into golf again.
So, obviously coming back to lockdown, golf, you were still able to play golf in the UK. You couldn't go down the range, but you could still play on the course. And so I wasn't working because the whole country was closed, and I couldn't, no one was hiring. So I just either hit balls or played golf with my brother most of the time.
Yeah.
And then the journey kind of took off. I was playing golf. I was either on the golf course or hitting balls on the range. COVID lifted, playing even more, loving it, and just trying to figure it out. It's having an anatomy and physiology background in biomechanics. I know what the movement systems are, and I know what I should be doing. So I was really working hard at it.
Tell me about the fitting process, how you'd run through it.
Yeah, I need to understand you as a golfer, and the more I can understand you, the better I can help you. So, it's about asking them, where do you play? Are you having lessons? Where's your miss? What's your current bag, and what do you like and dislike about it? What do you want to improve? And are there any strengths that you're quite happy with that we shouldn't really touch? And are there any gaps in the bag? And what's your miss? And then we get them to hit, and I can learn more about their swing characteristics and really find out how they hit it and how they swing. Now, fitting is very different to coaching. I'm not there to fix your swing. I'm there to fix your golf clubs.
Okay.
But we also have an element of, we don't just want to put a plaster over a bad swing. I want to give you a set of golf clubs, Mark, that as you progress, they still have a longevity aspect to them. They still have a high ceiling as you get better. And I'm going to be looking at their club head speed, I'm going to be looking at their attack angles, their landing angles, their spin rates, their spin axis. I'll be looking at all of this stuff, dispersion, carry total, standard deviation, and really just, picking through. And, if I get a golfer who's very new, then it can sometimes be quite challenging to get a good strike. So we tend to hit more balls with a newer golfer because we want to fit you for your potential, just like your handicap is your potential best round.
Yeah.
I want to fit you for your potential best shot. So all we need is 2 or 3 really, maybe 4 or 5 really good shots that the golfer is happy with. And then I'll negate the outliers, and I'll negate like the ones that are really, out there.
And then it's up to the teaching pro to make that good shot, more consistent over time.
It is, yeah. It is, yeah. So I'll go through all of that. And then for me, the fitting process is about trying a couple of options that the golfer is desiring or thinks they want. And then they'll try a couple of options that I think they need. And then before I share any numbers with the golfer, I'll ask them, what's your favorite out of these 4 options? They will give me their ranking, and then I'll be, right, okay, come on over, let's have a look at the screen together, and then we'll go through it. And usually what the golfer sees and feels is does correlate with the performance numbers that are being quantified and measured on the TrackMan. And then once we've settled on the model of the head, once we've settled on a shaft, and once we've picked one of the 4 models, we'll then focus on that model. We'll then try 2 or 3 different shafts, maybe one lighter, one heavier, one with a different launch profile or swing weight, and see which shaft works better in that head. And then we also look at grips as well, measure your hand, look at their grip. Do you need mid-size? Do you want standard? Do you want any extra wraps underneath? What compound do you need? And then once we've settled on that option, we'll then do some dynamic lie angle and dynamic specification testing. At my bay, we often use a lie board. Again, everyone swings differently. Some people stand toe down, some people stand with the club face right up. Yeah. But if it's woods and driver, we'll have the option of wrenching it up and using the neck sleeves to dial it in. The Cobra, the new Cobra Dark Speed clubs in the neck, they have 33 settings, Mark. It's unreal. So, a lot of the modern clubs now have interchangeable tungsten weights. They have adjustable neck settings. So for woods and driver, we can really dial it in and make sure that once we've chosen the head, the shaft, the grip, we then get the dynamic specifications, make sure we like what we see, make sure the numbers are optimal, and then they put it in a bag and take it to the links.
Isn't this a positive though, Chris? Like knowing that the club they walk out of your shop with is not permanently the way that it is. There is still some weighting, some tweaking that you do. Golf technologies come along, and they're not, basically what you leave with can still be tweaked further. You don't have to go in and buy a brand new set of irons or wood. Is that accurate to say?
It is accurate, yeah. Obviously, wedges and irons are fairly fixed. They're fused and epoxied, so they are fixed. But when it comes to the woods and the top end of your bag, absolutely. I call it golfer evolution. You buy a driver head, like my driver head is, I think, the 2023 Cobra offering, and it's still relevant, it's still modern. But as my swing evolves, I can change the shaft. I can just de-wrench it and change it into a different shaft on my own. Or if I feel like my swing has evolved and I'm now coming, more into out and I'm finding the middle more, then I can take it from that draw and upright setting just to put it back to neutral or make it flatter. I think that's a fantastic thing that the golf industry has evolved into that realm where a lot of woods, hybrids included now, and drivers are fully adjustable, and they can be evolved so that they have longevity, because golf equipment's not cheap, Mark. It's not cheap. And me and my brother were just talking about this the other day. Like, the new Titleist driver in England is £580.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of money.
I want you to leave us with 2 things. I want you to tell us what you love about being a club fitter, and what you love about, and what you would recommend to anyone who decides that this is maybe the pathway into golf life for their career.
Sure. So like I was just touching on, being a club fitter, you're helping people at the end of the day. And when you see a customer or a young lad with his, an 18-year-old guy with his first set of custom fit irons, or it's an older golfer whose swing speed has slowed and they're getting so frustrated because they're not hitting it as far. When you get them what they want or what they need, and you see that satisfaction and they've never struck it like they've struck it, it gives you a real good sense of worth and value. So that also kind of draws upon what I used to do in fitness as well. Not so much health-based, but just golf-based now. So I think that's one aspect of I really enjoy about it. The other side of what I really enjoy about it is I'm an absolute golf geek and nerd, and I love the tech.
as I have now seen firsthand.
But also, I love the mechanics of it. I think a golf swing, coming from a biomechanics background, the golf swing is probably the hardest movement in any sport.
Yeah.
Any sport, it uses pretty much every joint in the body. It's not a one plane of motion movement. It's transverse. It's transverse movement, uses centripetal force. It's so complex.
What would you tell to a young person who wants to jump into or find an entry point into being a professional club fitter as a career?
Okay, so number one is play golf and enjoy it and have a passion for it. Number two is work at a pro shop or work at a golf club. Doesn't matter if you're a greenkeeper or a receptionist, you're in a golf environment. And you're going to learn more about it, and you may find that you don't like it as much as you initially thought, or you may fall in love with it. And then I'd say number three, go down the golf education road. There are, in England, and I'm sure in the US, or I know in the US, there's a huge university platform of very top tier golfers. But in England, they have golf colleges and golf universities. More specifically, if you do your PGA Professional in England, it's a 3-year university degree at Birmingham University. So you can go to golf college. You can do online courses. You can sign up to the big brand manufacturer educations that they have online. You've got the Titleist University. You've got the Ping platform as well, and TaylorMade. They all have
so each of the fitters, each of the brands actually has their own kind of education course as well, as opposed to just a collegiate experience or a community college type experience. What do you love about golf?
For me personally, golf was a salvation when I came back from overseas, and it was my clear my head space. It was put my phone away, just don't think about too much, maybe meet some friends and socialize and catch up with people, or maybe try and better yourself. You're trying to better yourself. But for me, it was a real kind of zen peace of mind moment for me, in a sense that I love being outdoors. I love the fresh air. And I just love the openness and expanse of it. There's nothing better than a 7 a.m. tee time and you've got the whole course ahead of you.